If 99 people looked up at an empty sky and pointed, insisting something was there, you would look up too. Not because you saw anything, because some ancient part of your mind has already decided something that no one ever taught you consciously. The group is rarely wrong, and being wrong alone is the most dangerous thing you can be. You've felt this before. In a meeting where you nodded along with a decision you didn't believe in. In a friend group where you laughed at a joke that didn't feel funny at all. In a family where you agreed with a belief you privately questioned, simply because everyone around the table already had. Here is the part that should genuinely unsettle you. You weren't persuaded by evidence in any of those moments. You were persuaded by numbers. We like to believe we are independent thinkers, that our opinions are ours, carefully built from logic and experience. But the truth, the one psychology has proven again and again in ways that still make researchers uneasy, is far stranger. Somewhere inside you is a switch that can override your own eyes, your own judgment, even your own memory. The instant enough people around you seem certain of something else. By the end of this, you will understand why the crowd has more power over your mind than your own thoughts do. And more importantly, you'll learn exactly how to find your voice again, even when the whole room disagrees with it. Picture the last time you changed your opinion, the moment you noticed everyone else in the room already agreed on something. Maybe it was small, laughing at a movie you didn't actually enjoy, because your friends couldn't stop raving about it. Maybe it was larger, staying quiet about a decision at work that felt wrong, because every other person in that meeting seemed so calmly confident. This is the quiet, uncomfortable truth hiding beneath almost every human life. We are not just influenced by the crowd. We are, in many ways, built by it. Long before you had a personality, you had a tribe. And for most of human history, being cast out of that tribe wasn't just emotionally painful, it was a death sentence. No shelter, no protection, no survival, alone against a world built for groups. That fear never left us. It simply changed shape. From wolves in the dark to disapproving glances across a dinner table. From exile from a tribe to being unfollowed, excluded, or quietly judged. If you've ever felt yourself shrink your own opinion the moment you sensed it was unpopular, you are not spineless. You are not without conviction. You are carrying an instinct so old, it was written into you before language even existed. In the 1950s, a psychologist named Solomon Asch ran an experiment that still unsettles people today. He showed participants a simple image, one line and three others of clearly different lengths, and asked them to identify which line matched. On their own, almost everyone got it right, easily, instantly. But then he added actors into the room, people instructed in advance to confidently give the wrong answer. And something remarkable happened. A striking number of real participants, faced with a room full of confident wrong answers, abandoned the evidence right in front of their own eyes and agreed with the group instead. This is what psychologists now call conformity, not simply going along with others out loud while privately disagreeing, but sometimes, more disturbingly, actually shifting what we believe to match what the group believes. There's a reason this happens at the level of the brain itself. Neuroimaging studies have found that when someone's opinion conflicts with a group's consensus, brain regions associated with error detection and emotional distress activate, similar to what happens during physical pain. In other words, disagreeing with the crowd doesn't just feel socially uncomfortable. To your nervous system, it can feel like actual danger. There's a related concept called social proof, our tendency to look to others' behavior as a guide for our own, especially in uncertain situations. If you've ever chosen a busy restaurant over an empty one purely because it was busy, or laughed along at a joke a beat after everyone else did, you've felt social proof quietly steering you. And then there's something even more unsettling, pluralistic ignorance, a situation where a majority of people privately reject a norm, but assume incorrectly that everyone else accepts it, so no one speaks up. And the false consensus continues, unchallenged, sometimes for years. The crowd, it turns out, is often not even as certain as it appears. It's simply very good at looking certain. And that illusion is enough to silence an entire room. Picture a new employee in her first team meeting. watching everyone nod along to a plan she privately believes is flawed. She has the data. She has the reasoning. But she watches the room's easy agreement, feels the temperature of the moment, and decides quietly that it isn't worth being the only one who disagrees. Picture a group of friends deciding where to eat, where one person quietly wanted something completely different, but said sounds good the moment two others agreed first, burying her own preference before it even had a chance to be heard. Picture a teenager at a party, watching everyone laugh at something cruel being said about someone who isn't there. Every instinct says it's wrong, but the fear of becoming the target next, of standing alone against a room already leaning one way, keeps the laughter going, even as something inside him quietly aches. Picture a family gathered at a holiday table, where one relative's political or personal opinion goes unchallenged year after year, even though several people at that table privately disagree, each of them assuming, wrongly, that they're the only one who does. Picture yourself scrolling through comments under a post, forming your opinion not from the actual content, but from which comment has the most likes, letting numbers, not reasoning, quietly decide what you believe is true. This is the invisible architecture of conformity. Not loud, not dramatic, but woven so completely into ordinary life that it rarely even announces itself as a choice at all. Let's go deeper, into the specific, often invisible signs that the crowd is shaping more of your mind than you realize. Sign 1. Agreeing before you've actually decided. You find yourself nodding along in real time before you've had a moment to actually process what's being said. This happens because agreement in the moment feels socially safer than the pause required for genuine thought. Example, saying, "Yeah, totally," to a friend's opinion, only realizing afterward you don't actually share it. The emotional cost, your true opinions get buried faster than you can even access them. Sign 2. Changing your story to match the room. You tell the same story differently depending on who's listening, softening a strong opinion around people who might disagree. This reflects the brain's discomfort with anticipated social friction. Example, expressing strong enthusiasm about a decision around your boss while venting completely different feelings later to a friend. The emotional cost, a slow disconnection between your public self and your private truth. Sign 3. Feeling certainty, rise or fall based on others' confidence. Your own confidence in a belief quietly shifts depending on how confidently others express theirs, even without new evidence. This is social proof operating beneath conscious awareness. Confidence, not correctness, becomes the signal your brain follows. Example, doubting a decision you were sure of the moment a confident coworker disagrees, even without new information. The emotional cost, your inner compass becomes unreliable, constantly recalibrated by whoever seems surest in the room. Sign 4. Silence in the face of a norm you privately reject. You disagree with something everyone around you seems to accept, yet you stay quiet, assuming you're the only one who feels this way. This is pluralistic ignorance in its purest form. Example, staying silent about a toxic workplace habit that everyone seems fine with, unaware several colleagues secretly feel the same discomfort. The emotional cost, unhealthy norms persist for years, upheld entirely by a silence no one actually agreed to. Sign 5. Mistaking popularity for truth. You assume something must be correct, valuable, or good simply because it's widely believed or widely liked. This taps into a deep cognitive shortcut. The brain treats popularity as a proxy for accuracy because historically, group consensus often did indicate safety. Example, trusting a trending opinion online over your own careful research simply because everyone seems to agree. The emotional cost, your ability to trust your own reasoning slowly weakens the more you outsource it to the crowd. Sign 6. Abandoning personal values under group pressure. In the presence of a group, you act in ways that contradict your own private values, laughing at cruelty, staying quiet during unfairness, behavior you would never choose alone. This connects directly to Asch's findings. The group's presence alone, without any explicit pressure, is often enough to override personal conviction. Example: joining in group criticism of someone you actually respect simply because disagreeing publicly felt too exposing. The emotional cost: a quiet erosion of self-respect. Each time you watch yourself become someone smaller than who you actually are. Each of these signs, small on its own, compounds over a lifetime into something enormous, a self shaped less by your own convictions, and more by the invisible, ever-shifting consensus of whichever room you happen to be standing in. Here is where the story changes. Following the crowd is not proof that you lack conviction, courage, or a mind of your own. It's proof that you carry the same ancient wiring every human carries. Wiring built across hundreds of thousands of years, where belonging to the group meant survival, and standing apart from it meant risking everything. What you've misunderstood is this: the goal was never to become someone who is immune to social influence. That person doesn't exist, and pretending otherwise only leaves you blind to the moments it's actually happening. The real goal, the one psychology consistently points toward, is developing the awareness to notice the exact moment your opinion starts shifting, and asking, honestly, whether it's shifting because of new evidence, or simply because of the room you're standing in. Researchers who study conformity have found something quietly powerful. Even just one other voice of dissent in a group is enough to dramatically reduce conformity in everyone else. One honest voice, just one, breaks the illusion of unanimous certainty and gives permission for the truth already sitting inside others to finally surface. This is genuinely hopeful. It means your voice, even when it feels small and alone, carries far more power than you've been taught to believe. Not because it will always convince the room, but because it interrupts the silence long enough for other truths to breathe. So how do you actually build the courage to trust your own mind again? Not with vague advice like, just be yourself, with real practical tools. First, decide before you enter the room. Before a meeting, a family gathering, or a group conversation where you anticipate pressure, quietly write down your honest opinion beforehand. This uses a psychological principle called pre-commitment. Anchoring your true position before social pressure has the chance to quietly reshape it in real time. Second, delay your agreement by 10 seconds. Train yourself to pause, even briefly, before nodding along with a group opinion. Neuroscience shows that this brief delay allows the slower, more deliberate prefrontal cortex to engage, rather than letting the faster, more reactive social threat response make the decision for you. Third, look for the quiet dissenters. In any group, actively watch for the small, subtle signs of others who might privately disagree. A hesitant pause, an unconvinced expression. Naming your own doubt out loud, even gently. I might be the only one who feels this way, but might often reveals that pluralistic ignorance was hiding several allies in plain sight. Fourth, separate confidence from correctness. When someone expresses a view with total certainty, consciously ask yourself, is this true, or does it simply sound true because of how confidently it was said? This single question interrupts the brain's tendency to treat confidence as automatic evidence. Fifth, practice disagreement in low-stakes moments. Build your tolerance for standing apart from a group gradually, disagreeing gently about a small preference before attempting it on something significant. This is a form of graded exposure, slowly teaching your nervous system that disagreement does not, in fact, lead to the abandonment it once feared. Maybe the most important thing to understand is this: you were never weak for wanting to belong. Belonging is one of the oldest, most human needs there is, written into your biology long before it was written into your choices. But somewhere between the need to belong and the fear of being alone, many of us quietly lost track of a third option, one far harder and far more valuable than either, belonging to a group while still remaining fully yourself within it. Think of your own convictions like a single candle carried into a room full of larger, louder flames. For a moment, it can feel like your light doesn't matter, too small, too easily overwhelmed by everything blazing around it. But a candle doesn't need to outshine the fire to matter. It only needs to keep burning, steady, quiet, unmistakably its own light, for someone else in that same dim room to notice it, and realize perhaps for the first time that they are allowed to light their own candle too. You were never meant to disappear into the crowd. You were only ever meant to stand within it, still fully, unmistakably lit. If there's a moment you can remember where you agreed with a room you actually disagreed with, share it in the comments. Not for judgment, for recognition. You'll likely find you're far from alone in it. If this helped you see your own mind a little more clearly, share it with someone who might need permission to trust their own voice today. And if you want more honest explorations of the mind, the quiet forces shaping you, without your permission, stay with this channel. Subscribe. There is more clarity waiting here for you, because the moment you find the courage to think for yourself, even in a room full of certainty, is the moment you finally become someone worth listening to, starting with yourself.